one more. Yeah, she's gonna need help. No, it's okay. Here's a corner of the slide.
Kinsey.
Okay, Kinsey. She's gonna be the slide chief. So, Kinsey, you're gonna be let her tell you can do this. So she's going to be the messiah of the family. We gotta switch the board. Ask you to switch it. Kinsey. We gotta put them on. Pinky. You're nervous. My question. So you would probably just ask if says next, take it off rather than that's her is make sure you put it the right one. That's her problem.
But this one is don't stand over here because you'll be on live TV. On the TV.
I didn't even ask him. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You were born, yeah.
Will I be able to hear from this?
Yeah. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Is that the highest it can go?
So this rotates. If anybody needs to. Better? More?
A little bit. Yeah, good. So you can always roll it down. Is that okay for you? Okay. Ano ai ke aloha ya kako. Thank you for joining us today. The state and county will discuss key indicators in the 2024 point-in-time count. And they will also discuss our coordinated progress towards solutions on homelessness crises in Hawaii. Today, you will hear from the following individuals in this order: Governor Josh Green, Mayor Rick Blangiardi, John Mizuno, statewide coordinator on homelessness, Sam Moku, City and County of Honolulu Homelessness Coordinator, Anton Krucky, Director of the City and County of Honolulu Department of Community Services, and Dr. Jim Ireland, Director of the City and County of Honolulu's Department of Emergency Services. Facilitated questions and answers will be done immediately concluding today's remarks. Without further ado, it is my privilege to welcome Governor Josh Green.
Thoughtful. Aloha. Just a few comments. We have a lot of excellent speakers today, and I want to make sure that everyone understands what an incredible challenge this effort is. First of all, one of the most important points I can possibly make is my gratitude for Mayor Blangiardi, for the two teams that work hand in hand, day after day, week after week, working on this, which is probably the greatest challenge, at least social challenge, that we have as governor and mayor and teams. It's very difficult. A couple points. The point in time count demonstrates that there are more people counted, especially here on Oahu, that are unsheltered homeless. And I'm going to read some numbers to you so you understand the scope of this problem as we look past the years in the past. In 2017, we had 4,959 individuals counted. The next year, 2018, right before COVID, we had 4,495. Remember that number. The following year, 4,417, almost identical. Then 4,448, almost identical. Then about 4,200, followed by 3,951. The count dipped that year. Then 4,028 within 78, and then 4,494. We have 4,494 people counted This year, on January 22nd, we had 4,495 counted in 2018, almost identical. That tells you how challenging it is to reach out and try to provide humanitarian support for those who are really struggling on the streets. Now, I'm going to refer you to our boards here in a moment, but let me explain what our basic approach is. Our basic approach is to provide a lot more beds over time so that people have places to go. And we also have to provide a lot more services as we go forward. And you are seeing some of that in real time. For example, when you hear from our team that's providing core services, and that's Dr. Ireland, it's extraordinary to get that health care right to people on the streets. But it's hard. It is hard to find personnel to do some of this work because we just have a severe shortage. The mayor wanted me to make mention of an important program because as he provides us spaces to put these kauhale in and to add services, we still have to find people to staff these programs. And so at the recommendation of the mayor and my team and so many others, we created a program called HELP, which is the loan forgiveness program, healthcare education loan repayment program for everyone who will work in healthcare. And that includes social workers, nurses, nurse practitioners, physicians, specialists, everyone who's licensed to come and be a part of the solutions that we need to put into place. And those are healthcare solutions. Now, first slide here. Since coming into office about 16 or 18 months ago, we embarked on a program to build out kauhale villages. And we ramped that up quite aggressively. We now have many kauhale already available. You can take a look at this list. We have 7 kauhale built just in our short term in total partnership with the mayor. 14 kauhale will open this year. 25 kauhale for a total of 1,400 to 1,700 units will be completed by December 31st, 2025. Those are the units that we need to have available amongst many other services so that when CORE or the police department or our social work departments or all of our partners in care find an individual who is willing to accept help, they will have a place for them to go. Because our goal, when we find someone on the streets and we know that they need to get into a better circumstance than living under that tarp right there 30 feet away from me, perpetually struggling and suffering, we want them to go into either permanent housing or a kauhale unit. We also will note that in just this short time, 535 individuals have gone into these kind of housing circumstances. And right behind you to my left, you will see this building, which is going to be able to accommodate a lot more service, and I'll let the county unpack that. Next slide. This gives you a little bit of an idea of where, in our partnership with Honolulu County, with Mayor Blangiardi, where a lot of this is. And so you see these 18 kauhale will be built or are already in development on Oahu. We have the Iwilei Resource Center, which I will allow people to unpack that. That's very exceptional service and care. The Iwilei Center will be 100 beds. Again, they're going to talk about that. The mayor committed himself to something special. He will, I'm sure, mention Waikiki Vista. And then the Iwilei Medical Respite. So these services are available. But when our teams go out, sometimes people are still reluctant to take help. And that is a process. One more slide. I think this is important. I think you want to hold us to account, but this is the list, not just here on Oahu, but statewide, where we will have kauhale up and available. So in every community, someone will have access to an opportunity to be rapidly housed. And when you see the full implementation of this, you'll see the numbers steeply drop. That is a map of where it is. And as you know, we also are dealing with quite the crisis on Maui. And we started a kauhale over there as well. So this is one of the many things that we're doing to make sure that gradually we decrease the point-in-time count, but actually the real number. I do want to make at least one comment about the point-in-time count because it's a snapshot. It is a moment in time. Back 5 or 6 years ago, we had 100 fewer individuals that would go out and do the count. Now we have more volunteers. So what does that mean? We're able to find more people. We're able to actually count more people. So it is very difficult to do an apples-to-apples comparison. But needless to say, we don't want to have anyone who is homeless over time. So that's why all of this effort goes into play. Maybe one more slide. I wanted to do this as a slideshow, and the mayor was right. We've got to do it ground zero, exactly where the challenge is. And why do we do Kauhale? Why do we house people, get them off the street? We don't want them to suffer. People die 3 decades earlier if they're on the streets without any support, but also society struggles. You can see that monthly health care cost for an individual who's on the street is $8,192 because they go over to Queens, they go over to Straub, they need a lot of care. Their costs drop about $6,000 per month as soon as they get into some form of housing. And we are able to realize hundreds of millions of dollars of savings statewide when we house individuals. So that's why when the mayor is firm about people needing to get into care and into housing, that is the right approach. And why also we will continue to put so much energy into this effort. So again, the summary, the HELP program will provide scholarships so we have more social workers and nurses and doctors. The Kauhale program will develop 1,400 to 1,700 units, and there are several other modalities of care that will make the ultimate difference in our state. We would like to be a state that decreases by half our number of homeless individuals every 4 years, but it really takes building this foundation, and I'm glad to have a partner doing that. Mahalo.
Thank you, Governor. And I'd like to start off with my relationship with the governor because I think it's very important. You know, we knew at the city that the city resources alone would not be enough to tackle this really difficult problem. And if, in fact, we were able to partner with the state, given our combined resources, that we could really make a difference. And, you know, I will tell you, I don't think the governor and myself could be aligned any more in spirit, in mind, in heart on the challenge of this, the responsibility of this, our need to own this because of what it means. So let me just talk about the number. You know, the number, I'm not really encouraged or discouraged by the number. We're challenged by the number. But 2 weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C. I was part of a U.S. Task Force of Mayors, Conference of Mayors, and there were about 50 of us there. And as I sat around the round table and listened to them, most of them were there, including Karen Bass from Los Angeles, talking about during COVID how homelessness had spiked in their respective cities. In L.A., it's 46,000. And what it was like before COVID, and how COVID turned out to be a real catalyst to spiking the numbers. Well, you know, this number, as the governor just illustrated, is statistically flat from where we were pre-COVID. That in and of itself is a win. It's a credit to our team at OER in the city and our distribution of rent utility relief monies. We kept a lot of people. We spent over $300 million in over 24,000 families, keeping people from becoming homeless. The other things that we've been doing all along, and as the governor just pointed out, the point-in-time count was done in January. We've already been doing some stuff, and if I could just add this context, Governor, if you don't mind. When he first came into office, we talked about this very thing, right from the get-go on what our priorities would be. And, of course, you know, he went through his initial first few months, and we said we had a lot of things we were doing involved in the acquisition of Waikiki Vista. We were in negotiations on this place, which you'll hear from Anton about what we want to do and some other things that were happening. And he and I both targeted and said, I think by Labor Day, we'll be able to come together and talk about what we can get done. And then August 8th happened, and Lahaina happened, and that became very consuming for all of us, especially the governor, and all that took. So here we are today, in May, telling you that while we don't have it solved, and while we are challenged by these numbers are scalable, and I've said that throughout. There's a lot of good we can do. And we've asked our team here to come here and talk to you about that. But I have every confidence here, while we're not going to eliminate the subject of homelessness, that we're going to be able to treat a lot of people better than we've ever been able to do before in meaningful ways. And we're determined to do that. We understand the right way and the wrong way to do it, and we're focused on doing it the right way. What we're doing, what we're partnering here between the state and the city is innovative. It hasn't been done before. So lest you think, you know, you've heard this before, you haven't, on what people are about to see. So we're anxious to make this happen. I'm really anxious for you to hear from John Mizuno, who's going to come up and follow me. But I will tell you this, even though this number represents, like I said, about half of 1%, about half of 1% of our island population, it is in everybody's face. Homelessness is a major issue in the minds of people. It's become pervasive. It's no longer just in one district or another. And people see this, and they see the tops, and they see people suffering. And we don't want that. So we're really committed to doing this and making some good things happen. And I think that John Mizuno is a great person to follow me because statewide coordinator, and then you're going to hear from Sam, and you're going to hear from Anton and Jim Ireland. We've got a lot of really good people, knowledgeable people, bright people committed to this with resources that will make a difference. So with that, I'd like to bring up John.
Good afternoon and aloha. So I wanted to thank Governor Green for allowing me this opportunity to be the homeless coordinator for the state. Oh. Thank you. So just to give you a timeline, January 16th of 2024, about 4 months ago, I took my position as a coordinator for governor on homelessness. I was able to participate in the point-in-time count on January 23rd of this year. So the question comes up, what's the response to the uptick in homelessness? What have you done, Governor, Mayor, John, and Sam, in the last 4 months? And so I'll be very detailed. First of all, the Return to Home program has been working fine. In fact, talking to Governor this morning, we're going to put more funding in that program. These are for homeless people from the mainland, get here, they can't get home, and IHS helps them get back to their family, their support system on the mainland. What are the numbers I got from Connie Mitchell, confirmed with her this morning? 17 people from the mainland have been returned home to their families in the last 2 weeks. 17 in the last 2 weeks. You can talk to Connie Mitchell from IHS. She has seen an uptick with homelessness coming from the mainland to Hawaii. But yes, we're going to put more funding in Return to Home. Let me give you more statistics or try to encapsulate what we have done in the last 4 months. This is our response to the uptick in homelessness. As you heard, Governor, we opened 6 kauhale in the last 4 months. Let me be clear. These are the kauhale we just opened up in the last 4 months. Windward, Middle Street, Wilson Street, Waikiki Vista. Hawaii Public Housing Authority had 8 units. Iwalei Resource Center. And what's in store? And I'm going to be very Oahu-centric, so the numbers might not exactly jive with what Governor had said as he related to statewide. I'm going to be Oahu-centric today, so please, your kind indulgence for that. What are we going to do for Oahu before the end of the year, before 2024 ends? 9 more kauhale working with the city and county. Cedar Church in Kalihi Valley. U.S. Vets in Waianae. Iwalei Center, that's a 100-bed unit right here. Iwalei Medical Respite at the former First Hawaiian Bank right down the street. That's going to be a medical respite. Fernhurst, YWCA, women coming out of prison. Cedar Church Farm in Waianae, 150 beds. Village of Redemption, people coming out of prison. This is for males. Helena Street in Kalihi, also people coming out of the correction system. And Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility for our minors who are homeless. So in answer to that question, what have you done in 4 months? Before the end of the 2024 year, we'll have answered with 15 kauhale to be completed. 6 already done in 4 months. So we're not running away from the uptick or the stats. We're embracing the news, and this is our response. 6 kauhale in 4 months, and another 9 in the pipeline to be completed before the end of the 2024 year. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to introduce Sam Moku, my good friend. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. Sam Moku, Mayor's Homeless Coordinator. I'm just going to touch upon just some grassroots level stuff that the city is partnering with the state, and that is our HONU project. HONU is our Homeless Outreach Navigation Unit team, and they work hand in hand with service providers as well as our core team. And the reason why I want to share this is because HONU has been effective since it was started in 2019. And today, the HONU is located at Blaisdell Park, where we can house 40 people there, and they get the services that they need, and even connection with housing. That's very important. The HONU will stay at a location in a community that accepts it currently at Pearl Ridge, in the Pearl Ridge area, and we're able to work with the community in getting them to agree to have the HONU within their community. And that's an important part because not everything is on government side. We need the community support as well. And I just want to really make that a big point for all of us who are listening today, that we need you, community. We need you to support where we're going to build kahales, where we're going to put the next HONU, which is going to be in Kapolei Park in August, so that we can reach out to all the homeless in that area and across the islands, basically. So the partnership is not just between the state and the city. The partnership is with all of us. Thank you.
Aloha. I'm Anton Krucke. I'm the Director of the Department of Community Services. Department of Community Services handles all the human services activities for the city, which includes the homeless response and Sam's office. Now, as complex as homeless is, we have a clear strategy on how we address it. The first part of the strategy is really how many creative things can you do to get somebody to be willing to engage the system. You're looking at things like CORE, the Punavai rest stop across the street, many different creative things that we can do to get somebody to be willing to engage the system. Then the other part of the strategy is we constantly analyze our resources to service those decisions. So we look at the different demographics that we have, and as they change. When we came out with the CARES Act money and we focused on families, we were able to take 300 families, 850 people off the streets. When we did that, we were left with the different demographics. This demographics takes more detox, takes more mental health, and so we changed the resource mix that we're doing. Now, since the point in time count that's just happened in January, since that time, we were engaged in a process to provide 900 more beds within a year. 900 more beds, because we need beds of many kinds, or as I like to say, beds of many flavors. And so of those beds, with the partnership that we have with the state, we've been able to actually activate 400 of those, and they're open today. And I've got the rest, other 500 in play and ready to go. And when you think about creative things, this building here is going to be a very creative place. We're going to have 4 different shelters in here that'll serve different demographics, and one of them is going to be incredibly unique. This model is an example of using architecture as part of your healing process. People that will come into this shelter will stay for 12 weeks. Each week, we have a specific process for that person to help take away the layers of trauma that homelessness created for them. So when they exit this program, their chances of being successful in housing is much greater. And when you have a program like this, it's a creative way to get people to engage the system. I want to be in that shelter. And that's what we're trying to do. As many creative ways as we can get for people to engage the system, and then constantly add the resources to service those decisions. Detox, mental health, regular rooms, transitional, job training, all across the board. Dr. Island's going to talk about some of his experiences and give you some insight into what he's doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jim Ireland, Department of Emergency Services. The homeless need our help, and we're here to help them. And I'm so proud of the core team, some of them standing behind you in the red shirts, who are out on the streets every day engaging the homeless, getting them to shelter, getting them into the respite, getting them into the various entities that are evolving as our response to this problem. Now, prior to CORE, the option was call EMS, they'll take them to an ER, call the police, maybe they take them to jail, maybe they take them to the ER. But that wasn't really solving anything. It was a revolving door. What we have now, then when the CORE team was at its inception 2 years ago, that offloaded some of the work for the police and EMS, but then we quickly found that we didn't have enough places to take people. it was again the shelter or maybe HONU or maybe the ER, but if they had substance abuse problems, if they had mental illness, maybe those places weren't a good fit, or medical issues. And so now that we have these other options, especially medical respite, and those are evolving, and as the Kauhales come online, we have much more options and can be much more efficient and effective as a core team getting people off the streets. You know, my dream, our goal is to be able to drive the length of King Street and not see tents and encampments and people struggling at bus stops. We want to be able to visit our beaches and our parks and not see people struggling with addiction and mental illness who've decided to live there. Or under our bridges or along our freeways, it's not acceptable for a home. And I think with what the previous speakers have outlined, for all the different options and levels of care, I think we really have a unique opportunity to lead the nation in a response to something that's been found in every community across the country. And I think other places will model what we're doing as we see more and more successes. So I'm just, again, really excited about the unprecedented collaboration and just so proud of everybody in the core team and in my department, including, you know, EMS and Ocean Safety, who also have to deal with issues with the homeless, and what they're doing to meet this challenge. Thank you.
I would like to underscore one thing, and I really want to give the governor great credit for this, because right here is core. That was the first thing we did in our changeover, if you will, on how we were going to treat homeless, was to develop a mobile crisis unit. And then at the second time, the other thing we needed to do, is Anton just talked about, and the governor, is be able to put people in places, okay? The missing factor, the X factor, has been who's going to take care of those people, because these people require care. And if I were to tell you there was any theme from that conference of mayors in Washington, was that the conversation has shifted to mental illness. The governor's help program, here we go, you have all these acronyms here. Health Education Loan Payment Program, right? I got it right? Okay. It's absolutely brilliant at developing a workforce. And maybe some doctors in there, clinicians, whatever, but I think we've got $20 million put into that this year. More to come. There's tremendous incentive, because we all know right now is one of the most difficult labor markets any of us can remember. And I hear about that all the time from businesses all over Oahu, and I heard about it all 2 weeks ago from all these other same people. Where are the people? This is an incredible incentive right now to help people who can help us actually execute. That X factor, that's a collaboration with the state. We had a mobile crisis unit. We could develop places to go. The governor has this Kauhale that are coming in other things, and shared in land space, but we haven't had the people necessary. So that's going to make a big difference, and that's really an important part. It's those if there was a three-legged stool, it's that. The ability to go out in the street, build trust, to take people without having to have people be redirected by 911 calls. We're already short-staffed as it is with EMS. HPD is already overburdened with 911 calls. This ability to do that is highly impactful, okay? But more than anything, providing an incentive to develop a workforce is powerful. So I just want to make sure we got that point across. Got anything else? Brilliant.
Okay, we're going to proceed with questions and answers from the media, and I'm going to hit you first, Dan Nicasso with Star Advertiser. Okay. Okay, so the question is around pre-COVID homelessness numbers and predictions to current.
One of the things I'm really proud of that our administration has been able to get done early on in our tenure was precisely that. You know, all cities were receiving unprecedented federal monies, but most did not know how to distribute those monies because it was unprecedented. Quite honestly, the city wasn't set up for that kind of distribution. And the prior administration had early on, with some CARES Act money, begun to do that, but found it to be cumbersome. We came in, there was a tremendous need. We were able to get over $300 million. We're still in the last stages of doling out that money, okay, which was designed primarily to have people keep roofs over their heads, keep their families at home, pay for their utilities. So over $300 million affecting 24,000 families. So when I talk about the uptick here, and look, I have a letter on my desk, not that it's any big deal, from the U.S. Treasury, citing Honolulu, city and county, as one of the best performing cities in the country. I'm really proud of that. And I think that that's why I said earlier about the point in time count, because that even then was January. I'm neither encouraged, discouraged. We just remain challenged with this number. But I know a lot more people could have become homeless. And that was the big thing. You never really get enough. People don't see that. They don't see the fact that these families didn't even require homeless services and all the other things that would come with it, just beyond the fact that they could have been turned out on the street. So we've already made a lot of progress. This coming together now and the plans we have in place is going to be very impactful. And that's why I'm confident, very confident in what we're going to get done.
So to complete that description of what the mayor explained, so there were, in many cases, grants of $2,000 a month or more, just simply to help pay for someone's rent so that they didn't become a homeless family and have extreme suffering and cost, which we demonstrated with the previous board. Now, what do you do going forward? We lobbied for, fought, and succeeded in convincing the legislature to do what is the largest tax cut in the history of the state of Hawaii. We will be returning over $5 billion over the next 7 years to working families. Now, each family who makes $88,000 or less is going to have an average of about $4,000 more in their bank accounts per year. That's the difference between having a month or two buffer when things are tough. Maybe you're between jobs and you can't afford rent or your mortgage and you become homeless. This tax break, which takes us from being the second highest taxed state in the country to the fourth lowest taxed state in the country, is so much change, it's almost hard to predict how it will play out. It will also very likely be a pretty big boost for small business because we expect those monies to be spent here in our state. All of these $5 billion will likely be spent on people's rents or basic needs. But that's what you're going to see. People will start seeing in January a larger paycheck because there will be much less deduction from their monthly paychecks. So prepare for that. That will help keep people housed. And that's the kind of thing that the mayor and I have been very supportive of historically.
Mahalo. Our final question will come from Kristen Concilio with KITV4.
So I'd just like to know, when you say developing the workforce, how many people do we need to take care of, all of these homeless people?
Kristen's question is clarifying the workforce number.
So let me be clear. Homeless healthcare is healthcare. There's an absolute continuum because 30% of all the visits in the emergency department right now are for individuals who are homeless. And that means that we have wave after wave after wave of need in our healthcare system. We were about 6,000 healthcare providers short across all disciplines. We did 485 scholarships in the first year. We're anticipating doing another 500 plus this August. And so we will really rapidly be shrinking that workforce shortage. And because there are other parts of the country where healthcare providers are leaving, we are welcoming them as long as they do a couple things, that they commit to a minimum of 2 years in our healthcare system and that they take people who are on Medicaid. So those who are struggling on the streets are always eligible for Medicaid services, and that is the healthcare that they'll get. Again, it's the right investment up front. I'm so grateful to the legislature for funding that. I'm grateful to Mark Benioff, who gave us an additional $5 million to boost that program for the neighbor islands, specifically Big Island. And in the next biennium, we will be asking to continue this program in perpetuity. We'll get philanthropic support. And it will be the social workers that the mayor says he needs, and the people that work in the core program that he needs, and the people that work in the Iwalei Resource Center that he needs. Psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists, medics. They will get their loans forgiven, and they'll be contributing to the solutions in social health.
If you'll forgive me, I need to say one other thing because I won't sleep tonight. In talking about the rent utility relief program, I was remiss in mentioning we brought in 2 strategic partners who were tremendous to work with. First of all was the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, CNHA, and Kuio Lewis and his leadership as the CEO. And the other was Catholic Charities with Rob Van Tassel. Both of those organizations worked with us in an unprecedented way. So I wanted to say that for anybody that would be reporting it, because they deserve a lot of credit too. They really helped us do it. Hey, look, the last thing the governor said is it's impactful beyond my ability to put words into it. That is the X factor. That is tremendous right now, because these people have great care. They require, you just can't put them someplace. You've got to be able to help them. There's a lot of things we can do in stabilization. So, thank you.
Mahalo, everyone. This formally concludes today's press conference. For media, the speakers will be available for one-on-one interviews now. Mahalo nui.